We can.
Okay, here's a... Dad's recouping at the hospital from pneumonia, and he's going to tell us a Brother Wallace fishing story.
Well, it's late one Friday evening, and it's about the first of May, and I was down. I was down by the old smokehouse, just walking around, and I saw Wallace down at the creek. He'd been catching fish bait, and he had a big bucket full of soft crawls and minnows, and he was just putting a rock on top of them to hold them down in the creek water so they'd survive the night. And he never said a word about what he was going to do, but I knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to go fishing Saturday morning. He never said a word. Went to bed, still didn't say a word. Well, the next morning, he tried to sneak up and get out of bed and slip off and leave me. He wanted to go do some quiet, peaceful fishing. Well, when his feet hit the floor and he's putting his pants on, I was sitting up in bed looking at, he's putting his clothes on, and he just couldn't take the pressure anymore. He had to invite me to go on his fishing trip. Well, I had my clothes on before he got hit. I was ready to go. We went down to the mill cliff. That's the first big hole of water in the creek where we was raised. We got down there, and boy, Wallace just peeled we had old wooden sticks for a fishing pole, alder pole, and he unwound the line off into his and got a bait in the water, put a big old minnow on. And here I was still half asleep trying to figure out what to do, just messing around. Must took me 10 minutes to get my line off the pole. I reached down that bucket and got me a big soft crawl. The first time I threw the bait in the water, in about 15 seconds, I had a bite. I set the hook. That old alder pole was just doubled up, big one. Wallace just pulled his bait in, got out of the way. I finally landed that big yellow cat, about 22, 23 inches long. It was a big one. Boy, when he saw that, he threw his pole down, went to jumping up and down and stomping and saying every bad word in the bad word language. He said, I can't stand no fishing like this. Said, I'm going back to the house and go to bed. Well, I kept fishing and used up most of the bait and caught enough fish for 3 families. And just about an hour's time. And that's the maddest I ever saw the guy get in all my born days, when he saw that big yellow cat. My brother Clarence caught the biggest catfish that was ever caught in Line Fork, right there at that same spot. And he just knew he was going to sneak down there and get him a big. But the fish I caught preferred crawfish over minnows. At the end of that story.
How old were you?
I was 11.
How old was Wallace?
Well, he's about 5 years older than me or so. Maybe 6 years older, yeah.
What was the sleeping arrangement for you kids?
The what?
The sleeping arrangement at the house for you kids.
Well,
Did you have your own room with a bathroom and your own TV?
the bathroom was 112 yards west of the house, and it was a 2-hole outside bathroom. And if you just had to pee, you just stood on the end of the porch. And So, yeah, no TV, no radio, no nothing. And
Where was your bed?
my bed was in the furthest bed away from the heat. In the wintertime, you get up and scrape your fingernails down across the glass and peel off the ice and frost. On the inside, you go into the kitchen, the dipper, it's down in the bucket of water. You had to take something and bust the ice to get the dipper out of the bucket to get you a drink. That's how cold the place was. Just, I don't know how we survived, but everybody else was getting by, so evidently maybe it was healthy and we didn't know it.
How about in the summer when it was real hot?
Just open the windows and generally, if you was healthy and not sick in any way, when your head hit the pillow, you was so tired, you just fell asleep immediately, like 10 or 15 seconds. And when Harry and Wallace and Eva, me and Wallace slept in a bed, then Harry left. Then I got to bed by myself. Wallace moved into Harry's bed, and there was 2 beds in the bedroom. The girls slept in it, and Mom slept in her bed. And that was a sleeping arrangement.
Do you have a hairy story?
I've got a...
Have you thought of one to share? You're at 6 minutes, 50 seconds. So you need a 3-minute story.
Harry was had a real high IQ, and he stayed busy but building things. He carried rocks up from the creek and underpinned the house with rock and cement. And he done it on a school break while summer school was out. He underpinned that whole house with creek rocks. Made it look so pretty. But he was forevermore building. And let me tell you the story about the time the board hit me in the head. I was about 11, maybe 10, 11. Harry and Wallace put up a merry-go-round. They put a big post way down in the ground. And they took a big tube of 12, about 16 inches, 16 feet long. They put a hole in the center of it, put a bolt down through the board into the post. And then that thing will go around and around and around. 2 people get on, and 1 or 2 starts pushing and spinning, and get them going. And they could spin it so fast that if you didn't lay down and hug the board and wrap your legs around whatever you could find, it'd throw you off. So, especially Sunday mornings, all the neighbor kids around, they'd walk for a mile or 2 to just get to ride that thing, have a little fun. Well, everybody left but me and Wallace. And I got to making it go around and around and around real fast. And I ducked down right beside the post, and I told Wallace, I said, now look, I'm going to stand up and run out past the end of that board before it hits me. And it came right level with my ear. Well, I had to stand back up and get it going again. It slowed down some. Well, got it really going, and Wallace was hollering, no, 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 don't do that. That thing will hit you and kill you. Don't do it. And I stood up, made 1 step or 2, and I don't remember the rest of the story. Well, Wallace, I was unconscious, and Wallace got me by both feet, dragged me up to the end of the house and laid me in the shade. And then later, he dragged me up on the porch in the shade. Well, Mom and the girls went to church. They got
shuts off at 10. Okay, finish your story.
Then I laid on that porch, blood coming out of my eyes, my ears, my mouth, nose, just blood everywhere. But I was still breathing. Mom and Wallace picked me up and carried me in and laid me on the bed. I didn't even wake up for 2 days. Nothing. There's no way to get me to a doctor and just let me lay it out. Well, 14 days later, it'd been 16 days after I got hit, I was able to walk enough to get to the doctor's office at Cumberland, old Doc Fields. And at 7 mile one way, had to turn right around, walk 7 mile back. But Mom had to wait till I got strong enough to make the trip. And the doctor put that thing in my ear, and he let my mom look at it. Mom said, "Boy, it is busted up." That's just what she had to say. And that was a story on the merry-go. Knocked me out. Well, it's a miracle that I even survived that one. And when we lived up in the holler...
How old were you with the merry-go-round incident? How old were you?
I was, we'll call it 11. Because at 10 we moved down there, and 11 she'd bought lumber to fix the house up. That's where Harry got the big board. And Mom found out, boy, she had that dismantled post and all, buddy. Tear that thing apart before somebody gets killed. And it could have killed me, just bam, you know. That's why I live in a quiet world.
Well, that's why you can't hear in that one ear.
Yeah.
That's the story of your hearing loss.
And the doctor told Mom, said, it'll heal over and things and mend up some, but to hear real good, it'll never happen. Too much damage. Bone structure inside your head and all that. So, but another time when I was about 9 years old, big old snow, and Mom was down towards the barn milking an old cow. And I take a sled way up the hill, and where she was milking, close to it, we had palings or poles laying horizontal for a fence. And one of them was cut off to where it just made a big enough a hole for me and that sled to get through. Now I would have to lay back on the sled just at the right time and go right under it. Pull the sled back up the mountain. Get on it again. Here I go, Mom. Down the mountain. Zoom, right under it. She told me, said, "Lester, you quit doing that because you're going to hit your head on that piece of wood and it's going to knock you out." Very next time I come down, I didn't lay down in time. That pole, I mean, I was zipping down the mountain. That pole hit me right between the eyes, rolled me off of that sled, and Mom had to quit milking, carry me up to the house, and put me in a bed. But I woke up the next day on that one.
Did your mom let you sled anymore?
Yeah, but not there. That was a no-no. I wouldn't even try it again. It whooped me real hard once, that's enough. But I had a habit of climbing trees. Those hemlock trees, you can start right at the ground, the limbs come out. You can start climbing and climb to the top to where it's no bigger than a silver dollar. Well, I'd go as high as I could go. And why one of those pine tops didn't break out with me, I don't know. You think about it now and look at it, it's scary. But there wasn't a tree around there that I didn't climb. And that was a big sport for me. Let me tell you the story about the head lice. It was in the summertime, And Mom, one afternoon, had a fine comb, had the girl's head bent over a white pillowcase and combing her hair to get the lice out. There's 3 girls lined up there to get their hair combed, and I kept butting in. I wanted mine combed. Well, it was shorter than what I've got right now. I kept a burr haircut, and up to 12 years old. And Mom told me, said, "Now, Alan, Lester, if you want to find you a girlfriend, you're going to have to grow some hair." That's when I let my hair start growing. I thought the girlfriend thing would be real neat. Well, she just kept pushing me back out of the way and telling me to stop. So I walked down to the hog lot and had a whole bunch of hogs, and I'd pick them lice off that old hogs and put on my head. I must have had a dozen of them. I went back up to the house. But this time, Mom was about through with the girl, and I said, "Now check me, Mom. I think I've got some lice too." She come them big hog lice off on that piece of white rag. I don't know how far I went before I landed.
She could really knock you. She could knock you out.
Oh yeah. I gave her more fits than all the rest of them put together. Just curiosity, you know, and you had to do something to entertain yourself, or you wouldn't get no entertainment. And I wasn't about to just sit around and do nothing, even though I was a little old skinny, puny thing. You got time for me to tell you about my last whipping that Mom gave me?
Okay,
We're going to give him his pills at 10. So
Dad's at the
knock him
hospital
out again.
recouping from pneumonia and figuring out why he's been real short of breath, but he wants to share another story. You're on.
This is a story about my last whipping. I was in the house and I said a cuss word. And Mom, she already had the switches, and she grabbed me, cut me into shoestrings, turned me loose. I stormed out of the house. On the way out of the house, I said another cuss word. Well, while I was getting over that, Mom was working on getting her 3 big switches. 3, a handful of limbs. She came into the house, hollered for me, and I walked in there, and she grabbed my little old skinny left arm. She said, "Lester, there's 3 things that's going to happen right here, right now. I'm going to break you from cussing, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to die trying." When she turned me loose, she turned me loose, I just fell on the floor. Could not get up.
Hold on.
Where's the picture
Okay.
coming out of the center?
Yes, you're looking right at it. Nope, now I'm seeing a sticker bar.
But,
Oh my gosh, he's being a director. Everybody's being there. That's good. Just talk before the
So-
battery dies.
when Mom got through with the 3 limbs, she laid me down on the floor. And what she had left in her hands was maybe 1.5 feet long. She'd wore those limbs out on my butt, back, head, ears, feet. She beat me everywhere that I had skin. Well, she laid me down on the floor. She just walked out and threw her sticks away. My sister Sam and Mary were there, but when they heard how she's going to work me over, I don't know where they went, maybe a mile down the road. Well, I finally came to myself enough to where I could stand up and walk out of the house. I stayed gone for a couple hours, and Mom hollered for me, and I went back to the house, and my two sisters were there then, and they were crying and going on, and my whole back was just one big bloody mess. And they said, you need to get that shirt off and put you another shirt on. And I tried, I couldn't even get that. I was so weak and tired. And by this time, where she'd beat me with those switches, the blood had dried my shirt to my skin. And they had to take my shirt off and peel it down and get it off my back. Well, that stopped the cussing. Bad words. And I would guess that that's the best whipping I ever had. Was for a good thing, good purpose. And she knew if she didn't stop it, it'd just get worse. And so she nipped it in the bud. We're going to stop this right now. So that was the end of my last whipping. I was 13 and a half years old. End of the story.
Do you remember your brothers or sisters ever getting whipped like that?
No, not one. My sister Ruth, I was just a little boy. She was probably a junior in high school. And they was going, that class was going to the caves down there to Doodlebuck Barn, where the big rocks right up on top of the mountain. There's caves up there. And Mom said, Ruth, if you go in those caves, I'll give you a whipping. Well, when Ruth got home, she said, well, Mom, you better get your switch ready, because I went to the caves with the rest of them. And she got her little switch and just hardly nothing. I was standing right there watching. Hardly no whipping at all, but she did give her one because she'd promised. And she's, I do remember, but I got so many whippings, the rest of them were smart. They knew not to do this dumb stuff, and they wouldn't be getting whipped. And they lived an easy life. But Mom kept her switches in the corner. And after they dried out so much, she'd go get her 3 more. You can't whip somebody with an old dead stick, it'll just break. And I mean, she could bring the blood right out of your skin.
What type of tree did she get her switches from?
Hickory. They were the toughest. But I had it coming, you know.
Well,
It was her job to break me, and she did.
Alan, I got a breathing treatment for you, sir, whenever you're ready.
okay,
Count to 3. 1, 2,
tell 'em
3.
bye.
Bang.
Huh?
Tell the camera bye.
Bye, camera. Get you in 15 minutes.